Watch this satisfying serve return. Most players misread backspin because they're watching the wrong body part entirely. When the ball comes, your very first job is to read the opponent's contact. What did their hand actually do? You determine the spin by watching their motion. As long as there's any downward action in the stroke, there must be backspin. That's the rule. Watch, my partner sends a serve. Look at this action. Is it topspin or backspin? Watch again. With this kind of serve, don't assume that just because the opponent didn't use much effort, the ball has no spin. Even a soft, gentle serve, look, as long as the arm carries the ball downward, there will be backspin. It's guaranteed. The only question is whether it's weak backspin or heavy backspin. Watch what happens if you treat it as topspin, you can't handle it at all. So remember, it's not true that a relaxed serve must be topspin. And it's not true that only a big, forceful motion can produce spin. A quiet arm moving downward still puts backspin on the ball every single time. Next, this is exactly why we misread spin. Often it's not the pure sidespin topspin or pure sidespin backspin that fools you, you can handle those. It's when the spin changes just slightly. A half spin, no spin serve, you push it and it pops up high. A heavy spin serve that looks the same, you loop it and it dumps into the net. This point is genuinely critical. Most players can make a basic judgment, topspin or backspin roughly. But how much backspin? How much topspin? That's where it falls apart. You keep getting caught by that in-between spin, half spin, no spin, and you can't tell which is which. You think it's light, you push, and it's actually loaded with spin. This is the single biggest problem for amateur players right now. Spin judgment isn't precise enough. Now let's talk about the motion itself. When the arm accelerates, watch, I'm not using my wrist at all. My wrist is locked, I swing with just the arm. But when that arm speed reaches a certain threshold, the ball spins. My partner tries to loop it, it's heavy. So the arm alone, moving fast enough, generates real spin. You don't need the wrist for the ball to bite. Today we're going to break down exactly how this works, because understanding this principle changes the way you read every serve. So as long as the arm action is compact and fast, the ball will spin, it absolutely will. Now some people say there's no wrist involved. But watch, if the wrist moves slowly, the ball doesn't spin either. See, speed is what matters. When you see your opponent's arm suddenly accelerate, that burst of speed, remember, the ball is spinning. Don't overcomplicate this with percentages from 0 to 100. Instead, let's simplify. We'll break spin into 3 levels. The first level is what I call super heavy spin. Then there's normal spin, that's your mid-level, the half spin, not very heavy ball. And the third level is light or no spin, just 3 categories. Here's the principle, when the arm accelerates at maximum speed, a big fast burst like this, the ball is super heavy spin. That's level 3, the heaviest. Remember these 3 values and keep them in mind whenever you're reading a serve. Now let me demonstrate. I'll serve a level 1 ball to my partner, light spin, half spin, almost no spin. Level 1, my partner loops it fine. Level 2, normal spin, still manageable. But at level 3, the heavy spin, the same loop doesn't work anymore. Same stroke, same intention, completely different result. The technique breaks down because the spin overwhelms it. Heavy backspin has 2 signature characteristics that give it away. First, the wrist stays locked while the arm accelerates hard, heavy spin. Second, the arm stays steady while the wrist and fingers snap, also heavy spin. Overall, it comes down to speed. Whatever part of the body moves fastest at contact determines the spin. Watch these 2 serves. Which one has more spin? You can see it right away once you know what to look for. Most players never paid attention to these details before. But now, once you start watching for that burst of speed, your spin reads will sharpen immediately. So first serve or second serve, which one spins more? Could you tell? The second serve was clearly slower at contact. You have to watch the moment of contact, don't just look at the racket angle or where the ball is struck. Consider multiple factors together. The first serve had a sudden burst of speed, the second one was noticeably slower and more even. Watch again, this one is fast and explosive, this one is smooth and steady. The fast one spins hard, the steady one barely spins. See the difference? Now watch my partner try to push each one. On the first serve, the push goes straight into the net, too much backspin to lift. On the second serve, the push comes back easily. Both look like backspin serves, but the spin levels are completely different. Don't assume a high push means topspin, a high push can still be backspin, just light backspin. If my partner misjudges the second ball and treats it as heavy spin, the push flies off the end. You cannot fall into that trap. As long as the arm is fast, or the wrist and fingers snap quickly, either condition alone can produce heavy spin. That's why some players generate tremendous spin even without a high toss. The arm speed at contact is enough. So remember, speed equals spin. Whichever body part accelerates fastest at the ball determines how much it rotates. Now what if only one condition is met? Say the arm speed isn't particularly fast, but the fingers and wrist do snap at contact. Watch if I serve with a steady arm but add a wrist and finger flick, that's your standard backspin serve. It spins a normal amount. But if the arm moves at a constant speed and there's no wrist or finger action at all, watch my partner receive this one. She just pushes it and it pops up high. That ball has very little spin on it. As long as the arm stays at a constant speed but the wrist and fingers engage, you get a normal backspin serve, my partner pushes it back cleanly, no trouble. But now watch what happens when I add arm acceleration on top of the wrist and finger snap. The spin jumps dramatically, it becomes extremely heavy. So let's organize this into 3 levels. Level 1, no wrist or finger action, constant arm speed, that's light spin, almost no spin. A push against it tends to pop up high. Level 2, wrist and fingers engage, but the arm stays at a steady speed. That's normal backspin, the kind you encounter most often. Remember the key point. For backspin serves, we classify spin into 3 tiers. Level 1, constant arm speed, no wrist or finger action, that's light spin, almost float. Level 2, wrist and fingers engage but the arm stays steady, that's standard backspin. Level 3, the arm accelerates explosively and the wrist and fingers snap hard at contact, that's heavy, dangerous backspin. Next time you play, watch the server's arm speed and hand action at the moment of contact. Assign a level and adjust your receive accordingly.